What's up? Welcome to Upgraded, where I take inspiration from my childhood and make a dish out of it. Let's get cooking. For this episode, we're making some scallion pancakes, one of my favorite things to eat for breakfast. Start by combining 1 cup of flour and 1/3 of a cup of hot water. It's very important that you don't use boiling water or you'll overcook your flour. Mix with a spatula or with your hands until you get a soft, smooth dough. Cover your dough in plastic wrap and let it rest for 30 minutes. Meanwhile, we're going to finely mince 6 scallions. Cut the white ends off and slice them in half before finely mincing them. This will release a lot more of the scallion flavor. Once the white part is minced, mince the green tops too and set aside. In a small bowl, combine 2 tablespoons of oil and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. You could use whatever blend of oil you want, but I find that this ratio is nicely fragrant but not too overpowering. Once your dough is well rested, we're going to knead it a bit on a lightly floured surface and divide into 4 pieces. Working with 1 piece at a time, roll the dough into a small ball and pinch into a circle. Roll the dough out as thin as possible. Brush it down with a very generous amount of oil, add a solid 2 pinches of salt, and finally a small handful of scallions. The more scallions you put, the better the flavor, but the harder it will be to roll up your dough. Speaking of which, we're going to roll up the dough like it's a sleeping bag or a yoga mat. You want this roll to be as tight as possible so you get as many layers as possible. Once in log form, we're going to rotate the dough 90 degrees, or in my case 45 degrees for the dough, 45 degrees for myself, and roll it up again, creating this snail shell shape, or logarithmic spiral. Then, with the seam side down, we're going to apologize to our snail as we flatten its shell into a disc. Roll out the disc into a thin, round pancake. Don't worry if your dough tears a little or some scallions and oil come spewing out, it's all part of the process. Toss your scallion pancakes in and fry for about 2 minutes on each side until golden and crisp. Cut up your pancakes into 4s and marvel at the beautiful little layered interior and wonderfully crispy exterior. Now, these scallion pancakes are amazing. Crispy on the outside, soft and slightly chewy on the inside, with the fresh oniony pungence of the scallions and the slight bit of salt to bring everything together. Inspired by these scallion pancakes and my childhood memories of eating them early in the morning before school started, we're going to make my favorite brunch pastry, popovers. Specifically some scallion black sesame popovers. In a blender, add 4 room temperature eggs, 1.5 cups of warm milk, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. You should use whole milk, but I'm using almond milk because lactose intolerant. Blend this mixture until combined and add 1.5 cups of flour. Blend again until combined. Finally, add 1 tablespoon of sesame oil and 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Blend one last time and set aside to let the batter rest for 15 minutes, during which time we're going to preheat an oven with a muffin tin inside to 450 degrees. Now, ideally, you'd use a popover tin because it does make a difference in the texture of the popovers, but I don't have one. Grease your muffin tin with some cooking spray and pour the batter into the muffin slots until completely full. Top with a few pinches of scallions and toasted black sesame. Bake the popovers for 20 minutes, then lower the heat to 350 degrees and keep baking for another 15 minutes until nicely brown and puffed. Pop the top of the muffins with a paring knife to release any trapped steam. Now these popovers are a little on the denser side because I used the muffin tins, but they are still delicious. Crispy, buttery, light. Place these together with the scallion pancakes and you get a beautiful brunch bread basket. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go brush my teeth because I can smell scallions every time I open my mouth.
We need this plan. We need to convince more folks. Well, James Madison won't talk to me. That's a non-starter. Winning was easy, young man. Governing's hard.